So everybody talks about stress like it's this monster living in your job or your bank account or your health or even in your house, in your relationships. And so we find ourselves saying, money is stressing me out. My job is stressing me out. The diagnosis of fill in the blank is stressing me out. He is stressing me out. And then the advice is exactly the same. Go get a mani-pedi. Take a walk in nature. Start journaling. Pray. Go do yoga. Now, don't get me wrong. I love prayer. I'm a praying woman, and I'm not mad at a good mani-pedi, but let's be honest. How often does the stress come right back the minute you leave the yoga studio? Step out of your prayer closet into, did he just say that? Or walk back into the house and there's a stack of bills after you just got your fresh set of nails done. So clearly, something is missing from this conversation. And here's what I need you to understand about stress. Stress is an emotional response to a situation. Let me say that again. Stress is not the situation, sis. It's your emotional response to the situation, which means if you want to master your stress and become unstoppable, you have to learn how to master your emotional response. Now, when I say emotional response, I'm also talking about the story you tell yourself, because your emotional response and the story that are tied together. They influence one another. So the story you tell yourself about your situation is what creates the emotion. And that emotion, that's what you're calling stress. So you're not stressed out about money. I know you like, hold up, Natalie, you don't know me, but you're not stressed about money. You're stressed about the story you tell yourself about your money. The story that says, I'll never get ahead. I'm always behind. I'm bad with money. Everybody else is winning but me. Those stories create fear, shame, and panic. And that emotional storm inside your body, that's what you're calling stress. And you're not even stressed about the diagnosis, whatever that diagnosis is. You're stressed about the story behind the diagnosis, the story that says, this is the end. My life is over. Wait, I'll never be able to eat sugar again. Now I'm a burden to my family. That story causes grief, anger, and hopelessness. And again, that emotional storm is what your body is calling stress. And guess what? You're not even stressed about him, believe it or not. You're stressed about the story about that says he should know what I'm thinking. If he loved me, he would know. I shouldn't have to say it to him in order for him to do it. Now you've got unrealistic expectations, assumptions, and even mind reading that are stumbling blocks in your relationship. And all of that builds resentment and hurt, and it makes for a stressful relationship. So, do you see the pattern? Whether it's your money, whether it's your health, whether it's your career or your relationship, it doesn't matter. The situations are real, but the stress comes from the story and the emotion that you attach to the situation. So now let's talk about this whole phrase that everybody loves to use, stress management. What is stress management? First of all, I don't know about you, but I'm not trying to manage chaos. And that's what stress does. Stress makes you feel overwhelmed, frustrated, fearful, and it causes for a chaotic mind and a chaotic a chaotic life. I am not trying to manage the same emotional storm every single day for the rest of my life. That's not my job. That's not your job. That's not why we're here. I'm not interested in managing my stress, but I am interested in mastering my life. If that's you, then anchor on, because I'm about to tell you what you need to do in order to become unstoppable and master your stress. Because if you want to master your life, here it is, master your emotions. Do not allow your emotions to lead you down into a ditch. Do not allow your emotions to create this overwhelm and this fear and this panic and, yes, the anxiety that you're feeling in your life. Because when you master your emotional response, you can now look at that situation clearly. You can now look at that situation and see options and open doors versus closed doors. Because when you master your emotional response, you can look at your health and receive that diagnosis and clearly say, okay, what do I need to do? What are my options? What's next? And then you can look at your money and say, all right, where can I cut back? Where can I increase? How can I create more a passive income or another stream of income? And then you can look at your relationships and say, maybe he's not the problem. Maybe I need to communicate again clearly instead of expecting him to read my mind. So, same situations, but it's a different emotional response, which creates a different story, which then allows you to have a completely different stress level. This is why the mani-pedi won't fix it. Yes, your nails look cute. Yes, your feet feel soft. But when you walk back in the house, the bills are still due. The diagnosis is still there. The conversations you're avoiding in your relationship, guess what? They still waiting on you. So now, not only are you stressed, still stressed, but if someone triggers, you might just blow up and mess up your mani-pedi because the real issue is not outside. The real issue, lean in on this, is inside. It's the story you're telling yourself. It's the emotions that you're not processing. And we're not talking about that in stress when we hear these stress conversations. This is the part that's missing. And this is the part that keeps us stuck going in a cycle of feeling overwhelmed about life. And on top of that, all these unprocessed emotions start to create dis-ease within our bodies. So we get these unexplained headaches that just won't go away. We start to feel the neck pain, the back pain, the whole body pain. And then we get diagnosed with something like fibromyalgia or migraines. And we start to have an upset stomach, and it's called irritable bowel syndrome. We get these diagnoses because of the dis-ease that is happening in our bodies. And if we don't process the emotion, it turns into disease. And now we taking a pill. Now we taking a pill for the rest of our lives. And now we got to eat a particular way. And when we all had to do was control our stories in our minds before we ever developed these symptoms. To renew our minds so that we can then change our lives. So the mani-pedi, don't get me wrong, it's not bad. The walk-in nature, that's not bad either. Praying is essential. Keep going in your prayer closet. Those things support you. But here's what I want you to understand. If you never touch the story in your mind, if you never renew your mind and change the story, you'll never learn how to master your emotional response. And so what happens? The stress just keeps coming back, and coming back. It'll never stop because you didn't change. You did all these external things, but it's the inside that needs to change. So here's what I want you to do. If this is hitting home for you, if this is resonating, yes, I do want you to give it a thumbs up because I need to know that you want to keep hearing more about this. And I need to know that it's helping you because it sure as heck is helping me. But here's the one thing I want you to do. Not 3 things, not 5 steps, one thing. For the next 7 days, when you start to feel stressed and your emotions are starting to rise, I want you to pause and ask yourself one question. What story am I telling myself about this situation right now? What story am I telling myself about this situation right now? Just that. Write down the situation and write down your story. If you don't want to write it down, pick up your phone, record it, listen to the message, and see what is it that you are saying to yourself right now. And then notice the emotion. Where is it showing up in your body? What words are you attaching to the situation? Because once you see or hear the story, you can start to change it. And when you change the story, you change the emotional response. And that's where you actually start to master your stress. Not just manage it for an hour at the nail salon, not just manage it while you're taking your bubble bath or when you're walking outside. No, you start to master your stress no matter where you are, what's going on, not for that 1 hour, but from now on. If you want more help with this, keep watching this video, this channel, wherever platform you're on, because this is the area where I'm going to dig in deeper because stress is real. But this is the thing that I want you to understand. I'm going to close with this. You don't have to stay stuck in your stress, sis. You don't have to stay stuck in those limited beliefs, that story that keeps telling you it's always going to be this way. You'll never get over this because that's a bunch of BS. That is not true. And that type of thinking will keep you stuck. But I'm here today to tell you, you have just been set free if you take this suggestion and start looking at the stories you're telling yourself. I guarantee you, you'll start to feel different because the first step to making any change is awareness. So I pray that you become aware of the stories that you tell yourself so that you can master your emotional response and then learn how to master your entire life. And yes, become unstoppable. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. I do want to hear from you if this helped you. And let me know when you do your 7 days of awareness. Okay, let me pause right there. Maybe you won't do 7 days. Maybe you do 1 day. Maybe you do 3 days. But my point is, however many days you do, start becoming aware of your emotional response and the stories you're telling yourself, and then come back and put it down here because I want to hear it in the description because that helps me to make better content. But then I also want to know that I'm not alone in this and that it's helping you. So be blessed.